These are stories of outdoor adventure and expert advice from folks with calloused hands. I'm James Nash, and this is the Six Ranch Podcast. This episode of the Six Ranch Podcast is brought to you by Defend Security Cameras.
I drove by the old preserve down on Woody's. And everybody gets all hot to trot, and like, oh, they're doing it too early, or whatever. And these birds are strutting, and there's like 30 toms in there, and they're just getting it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, oh no, they're going to stop. I'm like, no, they're not. There's like 7,000 hens. There's no way they're covering them all. And they're not even like in heat or whatever. I don't even know what you call it for a bird.
I don't know. I mean, we can call it heat, right? Sure. Estrus.
Second turkey estrus. It's funny because we always give turkey hunters so much crap, right? But it is, I was down at the NWTF convention.
How was that?
It was insane. I've never seen anything like it. It was shoulder to shoulder. You couldn't move in the whole place. They said there was 80,000 people there on Friday.
80,000 people?
80,000 people.
That's bigger than Hunt Expo.
Oh, yeah. It blew, and Brian was there, and from McElray, and he was like, this is ludicrous, comparatively. We sold out a product in the first 40 minutes.
Turkey people have dethroned sheep people as the most fanatic for a species.
I love that because it's so accessible,
It is. That's America's bird, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because the turkey in and of itself is so competitive across who has the king, whether it's the first guys that get to hunt them in Florida, right?
Yep.
Today or, a week ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you've got Western guys that just do it as a sort of a in-between, like all the other things. Because it's nice out and they want to be outside.
Yeah, it's a great time of year.
Yeah. Really nice time of year. Especially now. This year's crazy.
So good.
No snow.
Yet. It could happen. I mean, how much snow have you hunted turkeys in?
Probably 3 feet.
Yeah.
And that was on the opener a couple years ago when we were working on that turkey book with Jesse Griffiths. And that was really funny because those guys are not used to, he didn't know what post holing was, right?
Well, only one way to learn.
Yeah. And it's funny, and I think he'd be fine with me telling the story, but we were kind of post holing our way, and he was like, we're going to do what? I need to bring snowshoes. I'm like, yeah. So we're post holing through this roaded country that normally is just a quick walk. It's like a mile, but it took us hours.
Yeah.
It's deep. And he slipped, and you know how when you're carrying a shotgun, you're kind of using it as a walking stick on the crust of the snow while you're going through it.
Uh-huh.
And he must have slipped past the knee, went past a layer, and his gun came out of battery.
Okay.
Which I didn't even know what that meant at the time.
Yeah.
And I kind of heard something and saw him laying there, and he got back up and we kept going and ended up calling a bird into 15 paces,
Oh.
And he's like, I just hear click. And obviously that's all it takes with the turkey, and he was gonzo, but that's a new thing, falling through the snow and having your gun not be operational.
Yep.
Strange. But yeah, we've hunted them in a lot of snow, and I think what people think is they follow the snow line and they do all this stuff like other animals, but they just live where they live, I think, my theory.
I've seen them in snow that's 6 feet deep in February.
Yeah. And
then they're back, not even back in that spot, but they're still in that same spot when the snow is cooked off in April.
Right.
Yeah, they're a really interesting bird. Something I was thinking about earlier today, which I debated about whether I was going to tell people or not, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. If you are thinking about coming out and hunting for elk in the West, I can confidently say that that 9 out of the top 10 biggest bulls that I've killed or guided have been in great turkey hunting places.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
So if you're finding birds in a place where you are thinking about hunting elk, you are in good fall elk habitat.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And
that rings true for Idaho, Montana, Eastern Oregon for sure.
For sure.
I would assume Eastern Washington.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like same can be said for the whitetail deer too.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, even here, right? Like most of the good whitetail hunting occurs where turkeys like to be too.
Yeah.
And elk and deer are sort of like, I think they're like relearning a little bit how to like exist with each other in these similar habitats. They have forever, but seemingly like that sort of ecosystem it's got all the things: food, water, cover, right?
Well, you grew up in the upper Midwest, is that?
Mid Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that upper Midwest?
I think it's considered upper Midwest. Yeah. I almost think like Minnesota is sort of like its own state because it's got a lot of different ecosystems compared to like the Dakotas. Like I would say Wisconsin, Minnesota, pretty similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Upper Midwest.
Was turkey hunting a thing?
Yeah. It was interesting. You had to draw a turkey tag when I was a kid. Like,
is it like that now?
no, now it's over the counter. You can get a tag every year. There's different seasons.
Yeah.
But
great.
Yeah, I remember the first turkey I ever killed. I think it was like, I couldn't drive yet. I know that. I was probably like 12 or 13. And yeah, you had to draw it. It was a big deal. You know, like it was definitely a trip we looked forward to because you didn't get to do it every year. And now it's like, you can kill more than one, pretty sure, in most states, you know. Depends. But
it's a big success story.
It is. And they've definitely sort of acclimated to states in which you wouldn't expect them to. Like we have some pretty harsh winters in Minnesota, and we're getting pictures of turkeys up. Our place where I grew up going to hunt is in sort of what we consider like the headwaters of the Mississippi country. So pretty far north in Minnesota. And it's past where agriculture is like a thing. It's like big woods.
Yep.
And we're starting to see cameras with turkeys on them, you know, which is pretty cool.
Have you ever seen what these little dinosaurs will do to an elk carcass?
I have not, but it'd be fun to get a camera on it for sure.
I've seen where they absolutely pick them clean.
Oh, I'm sure.
And guts and everything. And it's like, what happened here? Was this a herd of coyotes?
Yeah.
No, it's turkeys.
Covered up in turkey.
Amazing.
Tracks.
I would love to see the time lapse of what
a
flock of turkeys does when they find a boned out elk carcass in the woods, because it looks like chaos.
They're kind of to me, you know, they'll eat in every state. They're sort of a predator of whatever's available, like snakes in Texas, right? There've been guys that have told stories. I've seen them, you know, carrying around snakes, packing them around, and then they open them up and there's like bits of snake in the crop and stuff like that. Pretty wild.
Gangster.
It is gangster. And they'll do that. They're kind of like a perfect marriage of like a upland game bird in terms of their ability to hide out and survive. And then also like a vulture as a predator, you know, especially in the wintertime, man. Those flocks are giant.
Yeah.
And they're definitely an omnivore, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. So you've hunted turkeys in the Midwest. You've hunted turkeys on the East Coast?
Yeah. A lot of places from, you know, the eastern zones of like Georgia and Kentucky and Tennessee to the western states and everywhere in between.
What is different about hunting turkeys in the West, in the Intermountain West?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, two things that come to mind. First is everybody puts the eastern wild turkey on this pedestal, I think, because it's historically been a game species people have chased forever. You know, there's a lot of heritage around it. I think it's sort of new in the West. So the birds out here, obviously, is different subspecies. We also have the ability to kill 3 different subspecies here, depending on where you're at. You know, there's transplanted Easterns and then Merriams and Rios, actually all in Eastern Oregon. The Easterns kind of came down from northern Idaho, where they transplanted those a while ago. So I think the opportunity to hunt different kinds of birds is interesting here. They're also like, I would say, way more callable here. And I think that's a function of the type of bird and also the pressure involved.
Right.
You know, there's birds that we hunt every year that probably have never seen a human.
Yep.
Whereas I think there's a lot more urban, rural sort of interface in some of those eastern places.
Yeah, they do like a yard.
Yeah, they love a yard, and they also love like small parcels too, where you'll have historic roost trees and things like that. I think that's less prevalent out here. I think those birds are moving on a big loop. Outside of private sections in the Intermountain West, those birds in the public they're moving from tree to tree, you know. Also predation is way different out here. which is also remarkable that they survive at such a clip.
Yep.
Do you know the number one killer of wild turkeys on the landscape?
Skunks, raccoons.
The owl.
The owl.
Yeah. They hit them out of trees at night, which is bad to the bone.
So is that why the owl hoot makes turkeys gobble?
I guess, man. I've always wondered about that too, because like, why would you respond to something that's going to kill you? You know?
Yeah.
But I guess, I don't know. But yeah, owls, they have a hurting on them for sure.
Interesting. I think a guy could spend a lot of time thinking about why a turkey does what it does.
Yeah.
But it appears to me that sometimes it's not a complex operating system.
No, it's not. And I think if you want to come hunt turkeys in the West, the idea is you have to treat them as like a rudimentary task.
Yeah.
Right? Like bird gobbles, then you have a plan. It's just got to be about finding a gobble, in my opinion.
I want to throw it out there right now that I do not guide turkey hunts. Yeah. That's not what this is. I just want to talk about turkey hunting in the West because, you know, there are some really interesting differences. One of the places that I hunt them and the place that I'm going to hunt them this year, these birds are climbing, 2,500 to 3,000 vertical feet every morning and then coming back down that same amount every evening. And, you know, they'll jump off these cliffs and the last 800,000 feet of elevation, they're just cruising straight down like a bullet out of the top of these canyons and landing in roost trees. It's a spectacle to behold.
Yeah.
And getting to hunt turkeys in the mountains and in the canyons and this big rough country is pretty cool.
Yep.
And I've hunted birds on the East Coast and in the Midwest, and it's interesting everywhere, yep. Right? But there is something really special about getting to hunt them in the same type of terrain that is shared by bighorn sheep, elk, mule deer, whitetail deer. It's a cool thing. It's a cool thing. You've got 20 acres and your security camera can see about 50 feet from your Wi-Fi router. Your gate, your barn, your equipment, all the places you actually need to monitor, they're exactly where your Wi-Fi doesn't reach. That's where Defend security cameras make a lot of sense. They work on cellular, just like your phone. But here's what's clever. They've got an embedded SIM card that automatically connects to the best network in your area. Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile. It finds whatever's strongest. No choosing providers, no contracts, no hassle. I'm using Defend cameras at my place. You mount it, open the Defend app on your phone, and you're done. 10 minutes. Clear footage, night vision, instant alerts, and here's something you need to know. Defend doesn't sell your data. Not to China, not to tech companies, not to anyone. They work for you, period. Defend your place. Let's talk tactics.
Sure.
How does one tactically acquire a turkey?
Yeah. I think the first thing to remember is like time of the year sort of matters to me.
Okay.
There's this old saying that the opener and the 1st of May are like the times you want to hunt them, which is a big gap, right? It opens on the 15th of April in most states. My thought there is like, it comes down to like, you're hunting turkeys that haven't seen a hunter like trying to acquire them in a year.
Yeah.
So like pretty good to hunt them off the roost on the opener. Traditionally, after that point, after the opener, it becomes pretty difficult because they're pretty keen on, you have to call in hens, basically.
Okay.
Sort of similar to elk hunting in a way. Like it's pretty easier if you find a big bull on the opener to kill him than it is, maybe midway through the rut when he's got things on his mind.
Yeah.
The reason I like hunting them later, like towards the first week of May, is most of those toms are like, I don't even hunt them off the roost. I'll just like know where they're kind of at and then let them be till 10 in the morning. And what happens is those turkeys, the toms, are chasing around hens trying to breed them. Most of those hens at that point are going to go to the nest and they're actually rearing eggs at that point, or they've been bred. And then those toms, and essentially those like 2.5-year-old toms or ones that are mature birds are going to cruise ridges and they're gobbling at anything, right? So you can cover a ton of country and essentially like find those birds that are willing to play the game because they're searching for a hen and you're the hen, basically, you know? So I think tactically, like on the opener, it's all about like finding a roost tree. And traditionally that's how, I think most Easterns are hunted, you know, or off the roost, calling those birds right off the roost. And you're done by the time your coffee is barely getting cool in the truck.
Right.
Whereas like out here in the 1st of May through the 5th or whatever, you might be killing birds at 10 in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's really fun because you kind of get to not wake up at 3 in the morning.
It is an early morning that time of year.
Yeah, it is. Sun's getting up pretty early.
Yeah. And if you've got to drive an hour, be there in the dark. Yeah, it's an awfully early morning.
And you can like overcomplicate it, right? Like you could chase around birds off the roost all morning. And some guys are really good at getting ahead of them and you know, be it in the right spot. I would just prefer to call in a bird that's like callable. It's just more fun for me.
Do you use decoys?
Not really, not anymore.
Really?
Just because like we hunt in country that's like the topo allows you to like use the land to your advantage to where like I'm killing that bird as soon as his head pokes through that opening that he's searching for me, but he can't see me until he moves to that location.
Gotcha. So are you trying to find setups where you can be just over the top of a
sometimes,
of a
yeah,
ridge?
or like through stuff where they have to come through what we consider like a, you know, we have a lot of clear cuts out here and like reprod trees. If they got to like poke their head through that clear cut, I can be just on the other side of it. Right. So I'm using like natural barriers essentially instead of like trying to call a bird across an open field because he sees a decoy. Also, I just like hiking, so I don't like carrying around all that stuff.
Yeah, it's cumbersome.
Yeah.
I find something similar hunting in this big country, especially because, you know, I'm going to be packing a bird back out and, you know, I'm going a long ways from camp sometimes. If I'm packing a bird and a decoy and, you know, lunch and shotgun, it turns into a bit of a caboodle.
Yeah, and it's usually warm too.
Yeah.
You know, this time of year it's kind of balmy, so the idea of like carrying around a decoy is a little annoying. And then also I just like the challenge of trying to get them close without like with vocalization rather than like sight, because they are incredibly good at seeing. Right.
What calls do you like?
Box call for a locator.
Yeah.
And then I use like an owl hoot when it makes sense. Like I don't really hear owls hooting in the middle of the day all that often. Sometimes, but and then a crow call for locating too. I think is really effective midday. And that's just to get a response. It's like a shock gobble, right?
Yep.
And then as they're getting closer, I'm hunting by myself a lot, so I'm just a mouth call guy, like a reed.
Yep.
I just think it's a lot easier to use that without like a slate call. You got to use both hands generally, and that's just kind of hard when they're close.
Yeah. I have so much muscle memory for elk calling that I have a hard time making turkey sounds because it's a really different movement. And for you turkey hunters out there who are great at using a reed for turkey hunting, a lot of times you'll struggle moving into elk calling. Some people make that transition really easily, but what I find is that with a turkey reed, you're actually dropping your jaw a little bit. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you're making elk sounds, you're keeping your jaw open in the same position and just changing pressure with your tongue to hit different pitches.
Yeah, for sure. Also with an elk call too, I like to use I come from a goose calling background, right? Or duck calling background where you're using like a hand for back pressure.
Yep.
Do that same thing with elk often where I'm directing the noise to you know, have a calf call that fades away, or, you know, with a turkey call, you can't really if the birds are close, you can't get away with having a hand on your mouth or like on your cheek, you know, deflecting noise. So you got to get better at just like not doing that.
I'm so mentally used to using my hands when I'm elk calling that I almost can't without. If I'm busted and I just have to use my face to make that sound, it just feels so wrong. Yeah. And you know, I don't think I'm manipulating the sound that much with my hands, but it's just what I'm used to doing, and it's really important to me to have it up there. That's why I'm also putting face paint on the back of my hands to keep that, you know, flash from occurring. And I use gloves a lot too for that same reason.
Especially midday, right? When we're talking about calling these birds midday, like you're so bright.
Yeah.
The sun is high, everything glows.
Yeah, we're not tan right now. We haven't seen the sun since last August.
Yeah, so a fingerless glove is pretty helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about these birds too is like I don't consider myself a good turkey caller at all. But the only calls I ever use are like a yelp.
Yeah.
It's essentially a locator of here I am, and then I'm usually just sitting there and like letting them come to me. Like if they're responding more than once to a turkey call, like I'll call once and then let them come the rest of the way. A lot of guys in the East are like really having to manipulate that bird to get them the last 20 feet or whatever because it's thick as hell down there.
Right.
There's obviously exceptions to that rule if you're hunting like a crop field or something like that. But like the purrs and all those things, like I've just never been very good at that. And I don't think it's as necessary out here. I think you can get away with a pretty simple yelp call. And if you know how to not call at the right time, those birds are so curious that time of day, midday, that they're going to come check you out.
How long will you wait?
Man, that's a good call. It depends on the bird.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times I've had birds gobble once and then suddenly they're in your lap and you're still standing there.
Right.
Turkeys are notorious for, like elk are loud and they can sometimes hide their position, I think a little bit with how loud they are, soft they are by turning their head. Turkeys are the same way in that like, I can't always tell how close a bird is. I can either tell he's at the place where I should sit down or he's too far away. That makes sense?
Yeah. If you were to put a number on that, what do you reckon that is?
I think generally it depends on the time of year, but like on a midday, like what we consider like a traveling gobbler, I think probably like 100 yards is where I'm comfortable manipulating him in with a call.
Okay.
So I find it kind of similar to elk hunting. Depends, obviously a lot of things, but if he's like gobbling at 100 yards, I might try to sneak until I run out of cover.
Okay, so you're still closing that distance as much as possible.
I think as close as possible because I'm by myself, right? So I'll like let out a yelp and then hustle up another 30 yards just to get into a place where he thinks where he's coming to is behind where I'm at.
Yeah.
Right. With another person, you could get away with a lot more with the turn of the head or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you like for ammunition?
There's nothing better than some form of TSS. You know, I've been shooting a 20 gauge and I'll probably switch to a 410 at some point just because I think it's like such a joy. I'm not like a purist in that like I want to like kill that bird at 12 paces. Like I'll shoot him at 40 yards all day long. That TSS is effective out to 80 probably.
It's unobtainium right now though, isn't it?
Yeah. So the hard part about all those things is like something heavy works just great.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's
lead
or bismuth or a lot of this copper plated stuff's pretty good. I don't know. I think like some of I've always used like Federal TSS when it was readily available. It's expensive. But it's definitely got like killing power. You know?
Yeah.
Tough bird, honestly.
They are a tough bird.
Yeah.
Are you aiming at their head, at their neck?
Just where their head meets their neck,
Okay.
mostly. I think a lot of times our inkling or we're like lunging with the shot because everybody's usually shooting like a 12 gauge. It's pretty burly. So oftentimes I see people miss above their head because they're aiming at the top of their head. You can wax a bird pretty good if you aim right at the bottom of their neck. That's a good kill shot because that spray is going to get them in the beak, you know?
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. What about eating them?
Well,
You've got to hunt with the king of cooking turkeys.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I still run into people that are like, oh, I never eat those things, you know? But one of the things we were talking about food-wise is just the anatomy of these birds from Easterns to, Merriams and things like that. You're talking about birds climbing 2,500 feet. Like that's a pretty robust thigh on those things, right?
Yeah.
I would like to see the anatomy. I've never done this, but like almost like a necropsy between like the wing strength of some of the Eastern birds that are relying on wing power to get up into the tree, you know, whereas most of our birds, it's pretty much all leg, right?
Yep.
They're like launching off of something higher to get to something lower.
Yeah.
To roost.
Yeah, they're like 20-pound chuckers.
Yeah, and that's not the case, I don't think, in the Eastern birds. I'd imagine they're pretty wingy, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, cooking them, man, I think that there's like a couple tried and true things. For the thighs, it's a slow game, right? Whether it's smoking them, but I honestly, I just make stuff in the crock pot, just braising them essentially. Quick sear, and then they go in the pot with all your Sunday stock sort of accoutrements, and then I'm making anything from carnitas to enchiladas to whatever out of those. There's a really good recipe in the turkey book. I think he calls it's like coq au vin is the French dish, which means like, I think it means like angry chicken or something. That's what the French make out of the old roosters.
Yeah.
It's essentially like a red wine braise,
Yeah.
Or marinade, and then you braise them. It's really good. Served over like mashed potatoes and carrots, really good. And then the breasts, man, you just have to brine them, and then you can do anything you want with them.
And is your brine mostly salt water?
Yeah, it's salt water, lemon, a little bit of star anise, and some garlic. Whole lemons, like cut in half. And then you're just making that brine. You got to cool it all the way down first because you don't want that bird to actually cook in that liquid. So I'll like make it on the stove, and then it goes in the fridge without the bird in it. When it's cold, the bird goes in for anywhere up to, I brine stuff for almost like 12 hours is probably like the sweet spot, but you can get away with it at 6, or you can even go as long as a full day overnight.
There's not a single game bird that doesn't benefit from spending some time in salt water.
Yeah, 100%. And then it's essential to rinse that bird after, right? I think people forget that sometimes because like the salt isn't a seasoning at that point. It's a chemical breakdown component of muscle tissue, right? And then you can resalt as needed as you go. But fried turkey is the way. It's the best. Like just a simple, like I come from the Midwest of like, fish fries and things. So like anything from, I like to season up that flour with like paprika, a little cayenne, some salt and pepper. It's almost like a KFC deal. And then it's just egg wash, flour, egg wash, flour, fry. And then the trick is you got to put that, I learned this from Jesse, once it's, coated, you put it in the fridge for a while, kind of like binds it a bit more.
Okay.
You know how like a good chicken finger or whatever is usually coming out frozen, right? With the batter on it. And
right.
It's going from super cold to super hot.
That makes sense.
I think it helps with the moisture probably. And then, the last thing on the white meat is you can also poach those turkey breasts and really quickly without a brine. And it actually turns out pretty decent. And essentially a poach is just like a non-boiling hot liquid, right? That breaks it down. It makes it real stringy and kind of like, almost like a carnitas style. Just kind of like pulls.
Yeah.
And that's really good for quick.
Turkey tacos.
Yeah, whatever. Right?
Yeah.
And then you can like sort of carnitas it right in a cast iron after with some kind of hot oil and spices and whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Get some fat back on there.
Yep. Man, there's just a lot of different ways to cook it. And that turkey book is just, Jesse has this like, it's kind of like a no nonsense. Like a lot of his recipes call for like a little of this and some of that. It's not like New York Times, you got to weigh this out with a metric scale.
Yeah.
know? Like let's not overcook this thing, so to speak. He's got a great couple recipes in there.
And he's coming back up here to hunt with you again?
Yeah, he'll be here. Him and Eli will come up, I think, like the 20th.
Sick.
Yeah, be really nice.
That's awesome. Hope I get to see him. I should.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, man. Tell me a story of a turkey that just frustrated the hell out of you.
Yeah, it's funny. My buddy Ben calls them the nemesis birds, right? Where they just like, sometimes there's all this stuff going around the internet now with like, I don't know. I don't get too on my high horse about like how I kill them, although it's becoming more important to me as I get older of like, oh, that was a really cool situation. There's a lot of anti like reaping, which is like, sticking a turkey hat on your head and charging across them in an open field. That's a big deal right now. And it's kind of like, I don't know. It's sort of like looked down upon as sort of cheating or something. I don't know, whatever.
Is it just like too effective?
Yeah. And I think it's also just like dangerous in terms of like if somebody is rolling around in a pickup with their 22 and they see a turkey out there, it's like you might get shot.
Yeah.
Is the thinking.
We don't want that to happen.
No. And I think there's also like a more, like it's not about killing the bird all the time, And it's just like, if you reap a turkey, you're probably going to kill them. Pretty much guaranteed if you're doing it right. Cause they're seeing that fan come across the field and they're like, we're going to kill that other Tom.
Yeah. They're willing to fight.
They are. And they're also willing to like defend ground too.
Yeah.
If there's hens around or whatever. So I don't know. I think, my favorite like style of hunting is by myself, like middle of the day, and I'm walking a long ways, and I just go every like 100 yards. It's kind of like the old road bugle, right? Where you're just like trying to get one to raise. And then it's like a mad scramble because usually that bird, if he gobbles back at you, he's already coming.
Okay.
Right? So I had an instance last year. It was like 2 days before my son was born. And I normally don't really, I usually save like the private parcels for buddies or whoever's coming because it's, you know where the birds are. There's not a lot of challenge to like the finding of the birds. But I did go hunt this place because I was told by my wife and probably by my brain to like not be out of service with my son being a couple days overdue at this point.
Yep.
He was born on the 17th and I was hunting on the 15th locally. And I like knew the roost tree. I was like in it and they just flew the wrong way. Right. It's just the way it went. And I was kind of like, man, this should not be hard, you know? So those birds flew down a different way. And there's the challenge with hunting private ground early is there's just a grip of birds. You know, we've got anywhere from 500 to 700 turkeys on a 2,000 acre parcel, which is a lot of turkeys to try to manipulate. So they flew the wrong way from where I thought they were going to be. So I sort of had to hunt them with some midday tactics. So I kind of like dogged the herd, so to speak. And I know I'm like creating all these similarities to elk hunting in a way because everyone loves to say it's the same or it's totally different, but it's somewhere in the middle. Right?
It helps me understand. So keep going.
Yeah. So I'm like dogging this herd and I'm about to run out of room. Right. And so I just sit down. Right. And I know there's birds all over the place. And I just sit down and I'm really bad at this because generally that's why I like elk hunting because I can just move all the time. Like, you know, there's like no like sitting still is sometimes your best trait, but I can't do it for whatever reason. Different when I get to the whitetail side of the world. But in this case, I just like moving. So it was just like a challenge of like, dude, you can't go any further. You just got to sit here. And so I just sat there and it was like 2 hours. And then all of a sudden, all the turkeys were in front of me, right? Like I couldn't shoot them because I'd shoot more than one. And all I did was call once, right? And I was like, I'm just going to see if this works. And those birds took like 2 hours. They recognized where there was a hen, me, right? And they had kind of gone through the motions. And then suddenly they started coming back, onesie, twosie, three. And suddenly there's like 400 turkeys in front of me, right? And I can't move because they're all lined up. And they're just living their lives at this point.
Yeah.
And ended up getting one that, you know, was within, I think like 2 shotgun lengths away from me, right? And didn't shoot that one. I was just like watch them. And for some reason they couldn't see me. I think it was a shade thing. Like for some reason, or they're just used to seeing humans. They knew I was there and whatever. And ended up, there was this bird that a hunter of ours wounded last year and had a limp. And I was kind of like, okay, well, if I'm going to kill one, it's going to be this guy. And like this bird has lived through the winter with a limp, right? It's got one leg. BB's all in his leg. And suddenly he's like kind of head of the clan. So
many men.
Yeah, exactly. The guy's lived through some things, right? Like coyotes, cougars, winter, and suddenly he's just like high stepping through and still breeding hens. And so I ended up shooting that bird at like 20 paces, and it was just like a full circle moment of just like not. It was a good reminder of like not. It's not really about killing them, but sometimes when you quit thinking about killing them, you kill one.
Yeah,
that's how it works. Yeah.
I think it's interesting how we have to be so careful about sound. And you do. Not saying you don't.
Yeah.
But we have to be so careful about sound and movement and all this. And then if you get multiple birds that come in and you shoot one while he's down there flapping around on the ground after a shotgun just went off and you're, you know, pumping a new one in, like all the commotion, a lot of times those other males just attack that bird as he's dying.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I've seen that with deer too, or whatever, during the rut, or elk too, where they're like, you know, they're like, I got him now.
Yeah.
You know, I finally got him. One thing I like about Oregon specifically is we can kill 3 birds a year legally, but you can't kill them on the same day.
3 birds in the spring, and then more in the fall.
More in the fall, correct. The nice part about that to me is as I've gotten older, it's forced me to like really enjoy the moment more. It's less about like, we shot a limit to, I killed one today and now I get to kill one tomorrow. It just like makes the season and you get to see the woods wake up over a period of time, and it's different every day. I like that a lot. I think that's a nice rule. Whereas in Idaho, you can kill 2 in a day, you know?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And then you're done.
Yeah.
One thing to keep in mind, I've brought this up before, Oregon turkey hunters end up calling in quite a few cougars.
Yeah.
And it's during a time of year where cougars are really on the move. And you're set up and you're calling. So there's times that coyotes are going to come in. There's a chance you're going to call in a bear, but a lot of Oregon turkey hunters end up calling in cougars. Go ahead and have a cougar tag in your pocket.
Yeah.
And, maybe a round of buckshot.
Sure.
Or two.
Honestly, man, I think some of that 12 gauge TSS probably put a pretty good hurting on a cougar at close range, right?
At close range, absolutely. They do have, really thick jaw muscles that help protect their skull. So unless you're shooting at like the back of their head, you might have a hard time driving through that because it is the most powerful muscle in the body is the jaw.
Sure. Do you think you could shoot them elsewhere? Or not effectively?
Like trying to shoot them in the lungs?
Yeah.
For sure. If you had like BBs or something bigger than that.
Yeah. Because most of these rounds, are 7, 8, 9 mix, right? Which pretty small.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty small.
Yep. I mean, I think I shoot 4-shot turkeys.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's what I bought. It's what I bought. It's what I got.
I think those the difference too for guys coming out this way is I've run into a lot of people, especially in there's a lot of people that are interested in doing the slam, right? Or getting a bird in every state. And I think that's pretty cool. The thing that always struck me as odd is we were in Nebraska one year hunting and we met these guys in a public ground parking lot and they're like, there's birds hammering, but they're 2 miles away. It's well, it's Nebraska and flat. Go hunt those birds, right? They just didn't want to they're not used to walking. They're used to going to a gate, right? Parking, going 40, 70 yards, right? And sitting down and calling a turkey in. You got to move in the West. Because like I said, these birds they're not roosting, in my opinion, on public ground. They're not roosting in the same tree every night. They're just doing a big loop because they're almost transient. There's so much ground, so much food. They don't have to stay in a single place.
Yeah. And there's lots of trees.
Yeah. Tons of good trees.
Do you find when they leave the roost tree that they fly into the wind?
I don't know. It's funny because a lot of times when I'm hunting in the spring, the wind is pretty non-existent in the morning for some reason. Probably has to do with that diurnal shift, right? When the sun's usually still down technically when they're flying down. So there's not a lot of wind generally.
The only reason that I even bring that up, we know that when we're decoying waterfowl that they're going to land into the wind.
Sure.
And last year I set up on a roost tree and there was this big grassy, beautiful slope right next to it. I got next to a boulder, waited on the birds, and they flew down up canyon. And the wind is, of course, coming down the canyon in the morning. And I thought, is this just my bad luck?
Yeah.
Or is this physics in that they're landing into the wind like everything else does? It's just something that I only have one data point on it because I haven't been paying attention that much.
My philosophy is this on the fly down. I think they're going to follow that hen wherever she went.
Yep.
And if it's the most tumultuous route, they will bang off of branches and fly through trees and go across water to land close to where they saw that hen go down.
Yeah.
And similarly, if they hear a hen or if they're say it's a bachelor group of toms, which is pretty rare, they're going to fly to that sound. And I also think the second point is in my opinion, and I have a lot of data points on fly down. Unfortunately, I've spent a lot of very early mornings watching this or at least hearing this. My philosophy is they try to just get to the ground as fast as possible.
Okay.
And it's probably different in the canyon because there's a lot of room there.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably a timber stringer, right? In the big canyon versus some of the stuff that I hunt that's relatively flat and pretty well wooded. I think they're just trying to get on the ground as fast as possible because they're not meant, they're too big of a bird to fly. They're not a peregrine falcon by any means,
Yeah, they're a little bit like the bumblebee where it's physics say that this animal should not be able to fly, but it does so anyways. How many high school graduation speeches has that been at? Ooh.
And boy, do they, they glide nicely. So I think like when they get open and
Yeah.
they can go a long ways. I'm always shocked too about how I've seen this a lot too, where a bird gets shot and the initial reaction is for them to fly up in the air. And they usually like fly up in the air and you can see in their little pea brains are like, uh-oh. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah.
You know? But they will get off the ground pretty quickly. But I think they expend a lot of energy doing that.
Sure.
So if they they would prefer to just like get to the ground as fast as possible, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a heavy bird, you know?
Yeah. Spring turkey, spray your clothes down with permethrin so that you don't get bit by ticks.
We just did a little hike last weekend with the boy and my wife and a couple friends, and we were covered up in ticks.
Yep.
2 weeks, I think that was a week ago. So we're talking mid-March. That's weird. I mean, it's hot.
I want you to spray your pants from the knee down
Yep.
on the inside and the outside with permethrin and let it dry. And then the same thing on the butt because you're going to be sitting down.
Yep.
And that is going to keep most ticks off of you.
Yep.
And it will last through multiple washes, but just do that. These tick-borne diseases are so gnarly, we don't need that.
No.
I also have to worry about rattlesnakes, and I think I'm not alone in that.
No, that's a real thing.
A lot of turkey hunters have to deal with rattlesnakes.
Totally. Yeah, it's nothing scarier than hunting in the brush in Texas in the dark, and you're like clearing live oak tree like litter. I'd much rather sit my ass in the middle of an open field, like with a red light on it, and have it be there than crawl into that stuff.
You know, in spearfishing, I have to deal with sharks quite often, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, you know, there's big shark over here." I'm like, big shark, little shark, don't really care.
Yeah.
I'm honestly more nervous around like the 4 and 5 footers because they're just so fast and come out of nowhere.
Yep.
They're harder to keep track of. When it comes to snakes, I am more afraid of big snakes than small snakes.
Yeah.
And
that's fair.
It's doesn't make sense, but man, some of those snakes I see in Texas, oh, good God.
Yeah.
They're too big.
Yeah, I think the other thing on the tick thing is I'm always getting made fun of for having my socks tucked in, and I always wear like tennis shoes basically at that time of year because I just like, I feel like with boots there's a lot of crevices, you know, and they just crawl into stuff. And
wear gaiters.
Yeah,
throw some duct tape around there. Like don't give them a way in.
I wonder too. Like there's a bunch of companies that have come out with pants, you know, with like an insert that sort of tucks into your sock, and I actually think above the treatment of those clothing pieces from the companies, regardless if that works or not, I do appreciate like a technical addition to a piece of clothing that helps with that.
Yeah.
So like the inner sleeve or whatever inside a pair of pants is actually pretty effective.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with you. To be clear, permethrin is not a brand; it's a chemical.
Yeah.
So I don't care who you buy from.
Yeah.
I just want people to use it because that alpha gal.
Oof. I think about
so
that
scary.
way
It's so
more
scary
often than I should, you know.
You get bit by a tick, and now you can't eat red meat or dairy, any protein from a mammal, maybe ever again.
Yeah.
Like what a horrible thing to happen to a hunter.
Yeah. It's pretty sad.
We don't want that.
It's kind of like a fish guy that's allergic to fish, you know. It's tough.
I've seen it.
I've seen it too, and there's a lot of them, which is really funny.
Yeah. They've got to wear gloves. A little bit of fish slime hits them, and they get like instant eczema.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. The tick thing is, we grew up with a ton of ticks in Minnesota, right? We had deer ticks and wood ticks, but there was never like a fear of the disease like there is now. I think it's a lot more prevalent, seemingly. It's nasty stuff.
Also much better understood now.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure dudes would be sick and they're like, we don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Don't eat that steak.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many times growing up, you know, somebody would pass away and like what they die of in old age.
Yeah.
And that was just a category that was accepted. And now we need a specific label for all of it.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people were getting tick-borne illnesses that didn't know what they were. Doctors didn't know how to diagnose it. And if those symptoms don't show up for a while after that tick is long gone, like what do? You know, they're weird symptoms.
Yeah, I think The other thing I'd mention about turkey hunting and why I love it so much is that it's such a great opportunity to introduce new people to hunting, and kids especially, because it's like pretty low impact in terms of the amount of gear you need.
Yeah.
You can teach a lot of really, really important skills that translate across hunting.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be an expedition.
No. And I mean, there's a lot to be said about just sitting still, like learning how to sit still. And I could take a lot of lessons in that often. But I also think too, it's like a great introduction into like hunting where it's not 20 below, and the stakes are a little lower and there's a lot of them, right? So the opportunity is high. Really good opportunity. And it's generally pretty safe too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And also, you're just getting out there, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like what else you doing this weekend?
Yeah.
Just waiting for the game to come on?
Yeah. Not that many games, I guess.
A little bit of NASCAR?
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah.
Get outside, kill something and eat it. Make the world a better place. Yeah. Dude, I'm kind of excited about the turkey trip this year.
That excites me because I think this has been like sort of a new, not that you haven't killed them your whole life, but it's sort of a new appreciation, which I think that's awesome.
Well, and I didn't draw a bear tag.
Yeah, yeah.
So usually if I draw a bear tag, all right, I'm going bear hunting, I'll bring my turkey stuff. If I shoot a bear, then I'll focus on turkeys. If bears aren't out yet, focus on turkeys. And yeah, this year it's like, hey, nobody drew bear tags. Guess what, boys? We're all going turkey hunting.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because I still want to go. You know, I love that trip. I love getting out and going into a cool place with my jet boat. And, you know, I really, really love it down there. And yeah, getting to not even have to worry about bear hunting. And, you know, that makes my kit a little bit lighter too.
Totally. Yeah.
I don't need to bring a spotting scope to go turkey hunting.
Yeah, you're not like, ooh, that one's a big one.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, some guys are hunting long-bearded birds or whatever, longer than the other, but we're talking like, it's kind of like the axis deer thing to me, where it's like, oh, he's 33 instead of 30. It's like, nah.
Yeah.
That matters to some, but not to me.
Yeah. It's just a feather that comes out of their chest.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take away from people that get really excited about that. I really don't. If it turns you on that a turkey has a long beard or long spurs, awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Fantastic.
The data coming out across the country too is that, you know, the seemingly the 2-year-old crop, which is like the easiest mature bird to kill, is doing very well in almost every state that they exist, for the most part, especially in the West. I think that's fun because you're hunting the birds with long beards and, you know, sort of long spurs or whatever, but they're doing it like a old gobbler. Right?
Yeah.
Coming in, bugling their head off, essentially, as it were. And, you know, I don't know. I think like the West is cool in that you get to make it into a little bit more of an adventure in ecosystem, right? Where you can hunt them in this deepest canyon in America. And you can also hunt them in a woodlot or a river bottom or the Black Hills or the rainforest. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's a budget out of state hunt too.
Totally. I think it's $160 for a non-resident Oregon license and $90 for a turkey tag now.
Something like that.
Which is expensive, but not breaking the bank.
No, and you don't need as much gear.
No.
It's pretty cool. It's kind of like what I've talked about with the cougar hunt, where you can do that year round here in Oregon as a non-resident, and you buy your hunting license, and then your tag is $16.50. That hunt is going to offer you every quality of a bighorn sheep hunt or of an elk hunt or of a high country mule deer hunt at just a fraction of the price. And you can do it any time of year statewide, no preference points, none of that drama. So these Western turkey hunts are similar in that, yeah, there's differences, but there's not a competition with other hunts that you have going on this time of year. Right. And it can be a great way for you to learn country that you're planning on coming back and elk hunting in.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. That's why I spend all this time in these units that, you know, we don't have a chance to draw them that often, but when I do draw them, I know it now like the back of my hand because I've spent, you know, the 9 years it takes to draw elk tag there or whatever, I've turkey hunted it 5, 10, 20 days in that same spot. So
yeah,
it's a good way to get out in the spring. And I also think like it's worth the travel, you know, like I really do. I think it's like worth the travel to come hunt turkeys in a place that's different. Especially if you're trying to get into Western hunting. It's a great intro to that.
Yeah. And they're over the counter in Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
They're over the counter in Montana.
Washington.
Yeah.
Washington, Idaho, Oregon, Nebraska, South Dakota has some great turkey hunting in the Black Hills. That's really cool.
You've got to draw a tag in Utah, right?
I think so. I'm not actually sure. I've never hunted turkeys in Utah. I think that's the only state that I haven't, and Hawaii, I haven't hunted turkeys in. But yeah, they're prevalent everywhere.
Yeah. Lots of opportunity.
Yep.
Okay. One more hot tip on Western turkey hunting, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. So I just want to go back to this, like, don't hang it up after you don't kill them on the roost. Right?
Yeah.
Like, in fact, give it a minute. Like after you fail on the roost, which is going to happen in May, because those birds are going to chase those hens because they know they're ready to breed. Stick with it, take a break, have a cup of coffee, go back to the truck, and then start walking, right? And walk a long ways. And, you know, but when the clocks, this is the only like sure enough thing is like, don't call at 9:50, call at 10:01. Like let them get settled and let them get off that. Because if you call at 9:50 and they're with a hen, I think their brain is kind of like, maybe later.
Yeah.
But if it's 10:01, which is routinely all those birds that time of year, if they're hens, they're going to be on the nest if they've got one. I almost guarantee it. So anytime after 10 and before 2, that's your window, I think. And if people stick to that, I think you'll kill more birds in a really fun way. You know, it's very spot and stocky. It's not like I'm going to sit here forever. It can happen in 12 seconds. It can also happen in, you know, an hour.
Yeah.
Just take some time in between. I've done this so many times off the roost where I'm like, it's not today. Today's not the day. And if I would have waited, you know, another hour and a half and just like stuck to it, that bird would have died for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great advice. And, you know, maybe sleep in.
Yeah. It feels dirty, right? Like,
yeah, you can try it.
Not, and I'll do it, man. I'll leave the house. You can get some meetings in the morning and then go for a little mid-morning break and shoot a bird. And there's a lot of accessible, you know, roads and things to walk, and you get to see wildflowers and deer and everything else, and give it some time and wait for that 10 o'clock bell and it'll be on. I'll just guarantee it.
I like it. Okay. One last question. Are trail cameras helpful to you in turkey scouting?
Yeah, I think on the private ground when we're having hunters in, and you're sort of like hunting them off the roost, it's nice to know where they're going to be, especially if you have like a natural feature. Like we have a lot of like water on some of these places where you got to pick a side of the river. So sometimes though, like I say, they don't necessarily love the same tree every night. So at least the Western birds. So I think it's important to know, like, okay, they definitely roosted on this side today. Pretty good chance they're going to be on this side of the river. That's the only reason I use them. And then I also use it for inventory, you know, to see what else is going on around them and how many birds there might be. But other than that, like, I don't use them like in the same time frame I would like be on the ground hunting them. It's mostly like, okay, they're there the night before. It allows me to not have to pressure that ground to like get in and roost them. Because a turkey will sit on a roost tree knowing you're there at night and then make his decision based off that intel the next day if you're in the area. Whereas the camera can say like, okay, they're there. I wasn't. Now I can go hunt them in that same spot with low impact.
Yeah.
I think that's an effective way to use cameras for that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, good luck, everybody. I hope this helps. Hope everybody gets out and gets to go turkey hunting who wants to.
Very good.
Cheers. Thank you to everyone who has taken the time out of their busy lives to write a review for the show and share it with their friends. I'm extremely proud of how intelligent, engaged, and adventurous this audience is. Original music for the Six Ranch podcast is written and performed by Justin Hay. Art for the Six Ranch podcast was created by John Chatelain and digitized by Celia Harlander. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week.